R.I.P. That's an acronym that means rest in peace. And you hear that in all genres of music when someone passes away and in the entertainment industry. But tonight I want to change the acronym from R.I.P., which meant rest in peace, to R.I.P., rituals, initiations, and posterity. And I want to go back in time nearly 30 years ago and talk about what happened to Biggie and Pac, and what hip-hop did to Biggie and Pac on this edition of The Fold. The 1990s was perhaps the most dangerous decade in hip-hop. And I want to talk about two iconic rappers in the hip-hop community. I don't embrace their music anymore. It probably took me 30 years as a born-again believer, being saved almost 20. It took 30 years to be able to bring this kind of content to you. And hopefully, if you're an artist or an aspiring artist, if you're a CHH artist or you consider yourself a Christian rapper, anyone that's in the arts, if you aspire to be an artist, man, I want you to hear what I have to say tonight. So, rest in peace. R.I.P. is what we say when someone passes away in the hip-hop community and really in everyday life. R.I.P., the acronym rest in peace. And I said it in the intro that R.I.P., my spin on the acronym R.I.P. is rituals, initiations, and posterity. And I'll explain what each one is, okay? So thank you for being here at The Fold, man. This is Lament. Okay, a ritual. This is the definition, Oxford. Oxford gives the definition of a ritual. A ritual is a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. Basically, when someone does the same thing in the same way at a certain time. How many times have you watched the BET Awards? When I was in the world, I watched the BET Awards, even the Emmy Awards, other secular award shows. And you see people throw up hand signs. They throw up the Baphomet sign. It would be one-eyed symbolism. You know what I'm saying? These could be a type of rituals. But there are other types of rituals. You have rituals of shame. Remember the R. Kelly trials, what happened with R. Kelly, right? You have rituals of shame. Why in the world is he a free man today? I think he is. I don't have my ear to the street, but the last time I checked, R. Kelly is a free man. The things that he did, if he actually did those things, he shouldn't be walking the streets right now. And I said it, you know what I'm saying? So the P word they don't want to say again, P or PO, RN, that P word they don't want to say is a problem. And because of that, it produces PDFs, should I say. And that's what he was. And he's walking the streets. But I believe he went through a ritual of shame. Okay, there are also other types of rituals. Some dances in the hip-hop culture are considered rituals. Just because you don't know and understand these things does not mean that they don't have an impact on your spiritual life and it affects your natural life. Some dances, some popular dances that I've even seen Christian rappers and dancers in the CHH space, when I've seen them do it, I'm saying to myself, like, man, this has to be a ritual. It's the same dance that the world is doing. These popular dances, like where do they actually come from? That could be a type of ritual paying homage to a false god or a false deity. Okay, those are two types of rituals. I only named two. Okay, then you have initiations. Let's look at initiations. All right, Oxford again gives the definition of an initiation. The action of admitting someone into a secret or obscure society or group, typically with a ritual. So we've seen gang initiations. You've seen that on television, blood in, blood out. You get jumped into a gang, you shed blood, and you're in. But if you die, or if you're expired, that's the only way out of some gangs. You get jumped in with blood, your blood is shed, and the only way out is blood out. You expire. That's the contract you make with these gangs, man. It's the same thing in the hip-hop space. And I'm doing this podcast to open your eyes up to the truth of what hip-hop really is and what it did to Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, aka Biggie Smalls. I don't believe these guys started off on the wrong path. I believe they were looking for a better way of life. Tupac Shakur, you can go out in the universe of data predominantly on this platform, you can see an interview that he did in 1988. He didn't strike me as a thug back then. Very young man. I know he eventually dropped out of high school. So did Biggie. Biggie had a little run-in with the law at a young age. Done a little stint in jail, from my understanding. Got out of jail, wanted to change his life, turned to hip-hop. Hip-hop was the father to him. Same with Tupac. Tupac's mother was an activist. Okay? She believed that as a black woman and as black men, that she had a place and a voice to stand up and speak against some of the injustices. You hear it in Tupac's music, by the way. And she was an activist. But he drops out of high school, eventually ends up at a performing arts school out of Baltimore, and the rest is history. You know, he wanted to be an actor, allegedly wanted to be an actor, and decided to go the way of music, and he took on the thug persona. That wasn't always his persona. This is the way I see it. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Drop me a comment, tell me what you think. But in initiation, gangs initiate people, okay? It's blood in, blood out, okay? And the next letter in the acronym is P. I call that posterity. Your posterity is your future generation. So what hip hop basically does, if you want to be somebody in the entertainment industry, and I remember watching like Arsenio Hall. See, if you're in my generation, this may be appealing to you. If you're younger, this may be appealing to you because it's kind of giving you a peek behind the curtain to understand what's going on now. And the only person that I know that talked about this type stuff in real time, and he's become almost an authority on the subject, is Pastor G. Craig Lewis of EX Ministries. He deserves credit because he did the work. He did the research. God gave him the Truth Behind Hip Hop series, man. Go check him out. EX Ministries in Texas. Shout out to Pastor G. Craig Lewis, for the hard work. And I mean, he went through a lot of warfare, man, traveling to different cities talking about this. I saw the Truth Behind Hip Hop shortly after I got saved. Now, the stuff he talked about was over my head when I was lost. I'm just going to be honest with you. But 30 years into the future, I can look back at Biggie and Pac's life and see that they were actually victims of the hip hop culture. You know, hip hop is part of the machine. The machine consists of different industries. The machine is designed to control you and manipulate you. Satan has went to great lengths to make sure that you stay deceived, you stay in the dark, and your heart is darkened. Your mind is darkened to the truth of the gospel. And that's why I'm here doing this particular podcast tonight. Someone might say, man, why are you even covering this? Like, this is hip hop, it has nothing to do with the Bible. Well, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians, it's 1 Corinthians, let's go to it. 1 Corinthians 15:33. This is what it says. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good morals. Bad company corrupts good morals. And I think that that's what actually happened with Biggie and Pac. They didn't start off on the wrong road. Bad company corrupts good morals. So Tupac, early in his career, he adopted this whole thug persona. I want to tell you where it came from. A lot of things that we do in this world, we may not understand where it came from. And just because you're ignorant to a particular subject doesn't mean you're exempt from the consequences. So take a child. A child can take a fork, stick it in an outlet. Now, will the electricity shock the child or not because of his ignorance? Well, spiritual things work the same way. I'm telling you guys, spiritual things work the same way. Just because you say names and do dances and you're paying homage to deity, just because you don't understand what you're doing does not mean that it does not affect you. And a lot of times, man, like, we recite these songs in hip hop, man, and like, I've heard songs today that I knew 20 years ago and I still remember the songs. And I talked about it in another podcast. Why is it so hard to retain the knowledge of God? But these songs, man, I remember them. Why is it so hard? Because the flesh is at enmity, at war with the Holy Spirit that lives in you. It's a fight, man. Being a Christian is a fight. It's not a cakewalk. And the 90s, again, was the most dangerous decade in hip hop. It was the most destructive decade in hip hop music. These two men were the biggest personalities in music, period, at the time. And the beef got so far out of control that something had to happen. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. But let's just talk about this whole thug persona Tupac took on, okay? The word thug, we say thug in America in English, right? We call it thug, but it came from an Indian word called thuggy. Okay, the thugs, and this is from New World. This is from newworldencyclopedia.org. The thugs, originally called thuggy, meaning deceivers, were an Indian network of secret fraternities engaged in expiring and robbing travelers. The Thuggee groups consisted of both Hindus and Muslims, though their patron deity was Hindu. They worshiped the Hindu goddess, guess what? Kali. Now, if you know anything about Kali, this is from World History Encyclopedia. Kali is a Hindu goddess associated with power, Shakti, and destruction. Kali is also a central figure in late medieval Bengali devotional literature. Kali is the goddess of destruction and disillusion in Hinduism. And she is one of the most popular goddesses in India. That's Kali. I'm going to tie this together, man. It's going to get better. Y'all stick with me to the end. So, Biggie and Tupac. I want to talk about this because these two men actually began as friends. I want to go over a few things and I want to get to the main point. It doesn't take long to drive the point home. A lot of the stuff you guys know, back in the day, we didn't know it in the 90s. Now that things have been revealed to the body of Christ, we can go back and explain to people. And by the way, hit the thumbs up, man, if you like the content. We can go back and explain to people what we've been seeing. Couldn't explain it back then. We didn't understand. The first time I heard the word Illuminati, I believe Tupac said it. And then a prodigy of Mobb Deep said it. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body, secret society trying to keep an eye on me. I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't know what Tupac was talking about. The Machiavelli CD that was posthumous that was released after his death. And that was the last album that Tupac actually had creative input on, was Machiavelli. Everything else is posthumous. It was, they're making money off of them. But these two men were victims. I want to read you a little bit of something, man. And it's easy to villainize these two guys, but a lot of these guys come from broken homes. They come from horrible situations. Hip hop was a way out. Hip hop was a father and a mother to a lot of these guys. So Tupac and Biggie's friendship was shown in Netflix's Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell documentary. In March of 2021, a documentary celebrating the life of Biggie called Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell dropped on Netflix. The show explores the rapper's life through rare behind-the-scenes footage and the testimonies of his closest friends and family, okay? And I'm gonna go through this, man, just real quickly. Some say, I'm talking about Biggie and Tupac. Some say the pair met on the set of Poetic Justice. Tupac was playing Biggie's Party and Bull, if I don't want to say it, profanity, on repeat. He was playing the song on repeat. Pac was playing the song of Biggie's on repeat on the set of Poetic Justice, allegedly, which was a big deal for a then up-and-coming Biggie. Biggie was up and coming. Wasn't really known yet. Pac liked his music. It was his first single, and it was Biggie's first single, and Pac was already a huge artist, okay? So Tupac struck out first. Remember, keep in mind he took on the thug persona. Keep that in mind as I read this. Biggie's music didn't necessarily take on the thug persona because his first single was about partying. Tupac liked it. They became friends. They supposedly met on the set of Poetic Justice. Okay, let's keep going. Biggie would crash at Pac's LA house when he visited from New York, whilst Pac reportedly sent Biggie bottles of Hennessy and gave the young rapper advice. See? The duo performed together on stage, freestyling back and forth at venues including Madison Square Garden. Okay, Biggie gave bottles of Hennessy to Pac and gave him advice. Okay? Biggie allegedly asked if Tupac would become his manager. Okay? By this point, Pac was a platinum-selling musician and a movie star, while Biggie was still struggling to get his career to advance at the same time the rapid pace of that which Pac did. Biggie asked Pac to take over from Puff as his manager. Nah, stay with Puff, Shakur said. The idea is that Biggie and Puffy and Diddy didn't have a great relationship. And the reason I'm doing this podcast tonight is because so many names have resurfaced during this Diddy trial. And it made me think about a lot of things, man. And I prayed a little bit about this, man. I said, well, maybe I'll dig back into this. Again, we're going in time nearly 30 years ago. These guys were actually friends, okay? Okay, listen. On the 30th of November, 1994, Tupac was shot outside of Quad Recording Studios in Times Square, okay? After being called up to the studio by Biggie's affiliated rapper Little C's, Pac was shot, beaten, and robbed of his jewelry. Later, finding Biggie and Puff inside the building, Pac was led to believe that Biggie was behind the shooting. Their friendship ended that night. Okay, let's go back in time before this. I got to explain all this. Remember, hip-hop is a machine. Tupac is an established artist at this time. Biggie is an up-and-coming artist. They're actually friends. They run in the same circles. Tupac hooked up with a guy, an alleged drug ring, or should I say organized crime boss named Haitian Jack. Haitian Jack wanted to clean up some of his money, allegedly, and wanted to back Tupac in some of his work to kind of clean some of his drug money up to do something legit. Haitian Jack and Tupac, they ended up having a feud between each other because at some point in time, Tupac went and did a show. After the show, met a young lady at a club, brought the young lady back to his hotel, where allegedly Haitian Jack sent two men into the hotel room. The woman was assaulted. Tupac caught the blame for it. He said he didn't do anything. So he spent 1994. He spent a great part of 1994 defending himself. So imagine Tupac has all these legal fees racking up. So Haitian Jack has an affiliate named Jimmy Henchman. If you remember the name Henchman, it was in the Machiavelli album where he begins to just drop it all. He's naming names in Machiavelli, the first posthumous album that he had. And like again, the last one where you actually heard his work, his creative input was directly put into Machiavelli. Every other album was just they were trying to make money off of him, man, as far as I'm concerned. So Jimmy Henchman offers Tupac $7,000 to come and record with one of his artists. I believe it was Little Sean. And this is where the incident occurred. Tupac, you would think, why would he go? You're already beefing with Haitian Jack and Jimmy Henchman. Henchman offers you money, which, remember, he has court fees to pay. You know, he's trying to clear his name, so he couldn't turn down the $7,000. It was easy money. He goes to the recording studio, the Quad studio in Times Square, and he's ambushed and shot and robbed 5 times. Okay? So this is what happens. Tupac blames Biggie and Puffy for what happened. Remember, Jimmy Henchman, and Haitian Jack were already at odds with Tupac. Tupac went and he was going to do the collaboration for the money, the feature for some money. That's the only reason he was there. He finds out Biggie and Diddy were there. He blames them for it. And this is where the beef started, in case you didn't know. But remember, hip-hop is a machine. Listen to what I'm about to say. Hip-hop is a machine. It's part of the machine. Hip-hop cares nothing about these young men. If these young men were alive today, I'm pretty sure they would tell you something a lot different than what they would have said when they were alive on Earth. Christopher Wallace would he would tell you, hey man, flee this. This is nonsense. Whether he's in heaven or hell, I'm not judging. But in eternity, everybody knows who Jesus is. Biggie knows who Jesus is. Tupac knows who Jesus is. And if you could talk to them, I'm speaking for them. And I'm telling you tonight to flee this foolishness called hip hop, man. And even CHH, don't even put Christian beside hip hop. Christ and hip hop don't mix. Like oil and water don't mix. They just don't mix. They don't mix. I'm a Christian rapper. I don't subscribe to hip hop, man. What hip hop stands for, I don't appreciate, and it's antichrist. So, Tupac, he gets shot, goes to the hospital, checks himself out of the hospital, and I believe it was like the next day he shows up in court to clear his name, okay? Okay, so let's go a little further down the road. He shows up in court to clear his name, and he's basically convicted of the assault. So he's sentenced already. He's convicted of the assault. A problem that Tupac had, he actually said this. This is not an allegation. He said that Biggie was at the hotel where the woman was assaulted. He said Biggie was there earlier that day. And listen, Biggie left some of his firearms in the hotel. Those firearms did not belong to Tupac. He candidly, over and over again, expressed the fact that those were not his firearms, and he did not assault. He did not assault the young woman. Okay, he said it over and over again in interviews. He was innocent. Nobody else was going to jail but me. So this further sparked the feud between the two of them, and the fact that he was at the Quad studio after the shooting, shot 5 times. It just fueled the beef, man. Remember though, hip hop doesn't care about these young men. So Tupac, he's sentenced, right? He gets sentenced. He takes the rap for the assault. Biggie's career begins to take off. Tupac's in jail. People are coming to him and they're saying, hey man, they know what happened to him. They know who shot him, but he doesn't. Again, he's blaming Diddy. He's blaming Diddy and he's blaming Biggie for it. It's like a double whammy. First, It was the hotel situation. Now it's the Quad Studio shooting. This is how the beef started. This is the most iconic beef in hip hop history. I mean, I know there have been other beefs in the hip hop community, but this is the most notable and historic beef. A lot of people died, man. A lot of people died. A lot of people died. Not just rappers. A lot of people died. I know young people who died as a result of trying to live the lifestyle that these two men rapped about. Whether or not they repented, I'm not here to judge that. I'm just giving you the facts. Drop me a comment. Tell me what you think about Biggie and Pac. Are they victims? Are they victims of hip hop, man? I think they're victims of hip hop. I think they've been deceived. Remember the word thuggy? The word thuggy means a deceiver. Thuggies were assassins, man. Tupac took on the thug persona. It didn't realize thugs worshipped a deity. Cali was the god of destruction. Where did Tupac move to? Cali. And you might say, well, that's Cali, California, C-A-L-I. But this Cali is a god. Doesn't matter. The name is the same. The meaning may be different. But just because you yell something out doesn't mean that the spirit realm doesn't react to it. Tupac was a thug. He says, Biggie is a thug, the thug persona. Thugs, the Indian thugs worship Cali. Biggie moved to Cali. Same name, just different meaning. I mean, tell me if I'm on to something or not. I was just thinking about this, and it made me think. So, 7 days later, Pac was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison for sexual abuse. Listen, unable to pay the $3 million bail, Pac served most of his sentence in a maximum security prison. Okay? It was there that Tupac, along with the head of Death Row Records, Suge Knight, vowed to destroy Puffy and Biggie's rival label, Bad Boy Records. So, Pac sitting in prison. I believe he was in a Clinton maximum security. He's sitting in prison. He doesn't have the $3 million bail. Suge Knight comes, post bail, gets him out, and they vowed to destroy Bad Boy. But while Tupac was in jail, Biggie released the suspected Tupac diss track, Who Shot You? I want to explain this real quick. I want to walk you through this. Let me read it. Whilst Pac was in jail, Biggie released the suspected Tupac diss track, Who Shot You? Who Shot You? And if you're in the hip hop, man, back in the day, you know it was a big deal. Both Biggie and Puff would claim that the song was not aimed at Tupac. Biggie argued that the song was written before Pac shooting outside the quad. I'm still thinking this is my man. He said of Pac, Pac's my man. This is what Biggie's saying. Pac is my man. We gotta talk. We gotta talk is what he kept saying to himself. I can't believe he would think that I would do something like this. I'm paraphrasing because it's profanity. So I believe, this is my belief. I believe that the song was pre-recorded before Tupac was shot. But I also believe that the song was released after he was shot. Why? Why was it released after he was shot if the song was recorded? It's alleged that the song was supposed to be on Mary J. Blige's album. Whatever album it was, I don't know. I forgot. It was alleged that song should have been it was supposed to be part of Mary J. Blige's album. They scrapped it from the album and released it after Tupac got shot. But why? The question is why? You know why? The reason why they did it is because death sells records. Negativity sells records. Beef sells records. And I don't believe that Christopher Wallace, aka Biggie Smalls, was okay with this. I don't. I believe he was pressured by the label. Remember, the artist has no control over when a song is released. The executives, they decide how and when a song is released, because you want to release it at the right time. You want to market it to the right audience. Executives, they sit down and make these determinations, man. Biggie didn't make this determination, but I believe he was drug into this. You see how it works? The machine, either you do this or your career is over. Remember, his career, he hadn't even come out with his first album yet. He's an up-and-coming artist. Tupac is established. So now Death Row Records, they vowed to destroy Bad Boy. Biggie is their guy. He's the king. He was crowned king of the East Coast. Pac, king of the West. This is what hip-hop needed. Not in a good way, but this is what the machine needs to be fed on, man. And I talked about rituals. Death is a ritual. dances are rituals. Hand gestures, West Side, those are rituals. You're paying homage. Cali is a deity. California is a place, but it sounds the same in the spirit realm. It doesn't matter if you understand it or not. These guys were drugged into this beef. And I believe that Tupac became unreasonable at some point. He became unreasonable. Whilst Biggie tried to belittle the situation, Tupac did not do that. Tupac did not belittle the situation. He was furious. He wanted revenge from being shot. He wanted revenge from the assault case. And I mean, he wasn't taking any prisoners, man. Pac did everything he could to trash the bad boy rapper. Not only did he claim Biggie was behind the shooting, but he argued that Biggie's style was a ripoff of his own. Pac also bragged about sleeping with Faith Evans, Biggie's wife, and how superior he was in hip-hop. This thing got ugly, man. Instead of two men feuding, you got one coast against another coast. You got the Pyru, you got Bloods and Crips. These guys are going at it, man, because of two men's beef. Hip-hop needed this. In the 90s, they needed this. This was a dangerous time to be a part of hip-hop, man, as an artist and as a consumer. I know guys that got killed trying to live this life. Personally. And I'm talking about posterity. I talked about rituals. I talked about initiation. Now I want to talk about posterity. Posterity is your future generations. So when you say R.I.P. Biggie, R.I.P. Tupac, to me it doesn't mean rest in peace. R.I.P. It's an acronym to me that tells the world what hip hop did to them. First of all, you got to be a part of the ritual. If you want to make it as an artist, you got to have some type of ritual. You're going to have to renounce Christ directly or indirectly. And you're going to have to partake in the ritual. Okay, I'm a thug. You might say that's not a ritual, but it is. Everything around thug life was ritualistic. Pac embraced the thug life. Biggie, he did in some way embrace the thug life right behind Tupac. But his first single, Party and You Know What, it wasn't about that. It was feel good music. I was in high school the first time I heard Biggie Smalls. A friend handed me, what's up, Doobie, by the way? He handed me a Walkman with a tape deck. Back then it was tapes. And I heard a song called Juicy by Biggie Smalls. And right then I knew I never heard of the guy, but I knew he was going to be a superstar. I just gravitated towards his sound, his delivery, everything about it. I loved it, man. I was already a fan of Tupac. And the rest was history for hip hop, man. But remember, I wasn't saved then. If you're not saved now, man, this is some dangerous stuff. But you might say, well, I don't listen to these guys' music. I'm not in your generation. I don't care. But guess what? It's still going on now. Kendrick Lamar and Drake, that beef. These beefs, see, it's all about selling records, man. Nobody cares about these artists. Once you go through the rituals and you do enough rituals, you're initiated. In order to be initiated, guess what? It's like the gang, blood in, blood out. Have you not noticed when these artists make it big, either after they make it big, while they're on their way, somebody close to them is expired. Somebody coincidentally expires. You think that's a coincidence or a ritual or some type of initiation? After so many rituals, you have to have an initiation. When you're initiated, you're in there. You're one of them. You know stuff that your fans don't know. You understand the frequencies. You understand how they pray over albums before they're released. You understand the spiritual implications. By the time you get to this stage, you know what's going on. And after you're initiated, all you have to do is play the part. But if you ever get out of line, man, this is what I'm getting at. If you ever get out of line after you've been initiated, you know too much. I believe Biggie and Pac knew too much. And I believe they were set against each other on purpose. And I say that Suge Knight may have an interest in Tupac expiring, maybe. And Diddy may have had an interest in Biggie expiring, maybe. It's a chance. I'm not accusing either one of these men of anything. But there could be an interest. There could have been an interest in either one of these men expiring. It could have been, man. Maybe it was better for hip hop if they both expired. Lift them up as icons and keep on moving. Because the beef got so intense between these two artists. Again, people were dying on both coasts. There was a war between the East and West Coast, literally. East Coast rappers against West Coast rappers. I mean, literally, man. I remember, even where I lived at, people were repping whatever hood they were from. There are Bloods and Crips in Charlotte, North Carolina, man. It was a dangerous time for music, man. That decade was very dangerous. And Satan weaponized hip-hop as much as he could in that decade. Now, you might laugh at what I'm talking about if you're younger, because all this stuff, man, it's like, it's in your face now. I mean, no one's hiding anything now. So let's keep going, man, to get through this. On the 7th of September, 1996, Tupac was fatally shot in a drive-by shooting in Vegas, right? The pair never settled their notorious beef before Tupac's death. While there's no evidence that Biggie or Puff knew about Tupac's shooting in advance, the murder has been shrouded in mystery, rumors, and controversy since that fateful day. All right, posterity. This is alleged. This is a rumor, and this is a rumor. Don't take what I'm saying as fact. There was a rumor that Tupac wanted to leave Suge Knight and Death Row Records and go and sign with Quincy Jones. And I believe Tupac, based on my research, which I had to research to do this video, this podcast, Tupac was dating Quincy Jones's daughter. And Tupac allegedly wanted to leave Suge Knight and Death Row Records to sign a deal with Quincy Jones and eventually become an independent artist. Independent production, you know. On the other side, Biggie. People have said this. People said this. It's rumored. Several witnesses claim that Christopher Wallace, a.k.a. Biggie Smalls, said he wanted to leave Bad Boy because he wanted to own his publishing. Now, when you talk about publishing with making music, every artist, the dream of every artist is to own their publishing. The publishing controls how your music is being used. And how your music is being used could have an impact on your royalties, residuals. You know what I'm saying? So Biggie basically wanted control of his music. Diddy didn't give him that. You know, he didn't give him that while he was alive. But Diddy reportedly gave all of the Bad Boy artists under his name, under his business, under Bad Boy Records. He gave them all control of their publishing. He gave them all of their publishing. Not too long ago, you know. I've done a little research on that, don't know much about it. But it's alleged that Biggie wanted his publishing. And it's alleged that Tupac wanted to leave the Death Row camp. The beef got too hot, man. And could it be that Satan, see, it's not Diddy, it's not Suge Knight, it's Satan. Hip-hop is a machine. In order for hip-hop to survive, if you get out of line, once you've been initiated, hip-hop starts looking to your posterity. How many disciples have you made? Who can we turn to when you expire? When we expire you, who can we turn to keep the torch? To keep the flame hot and to pass it on, man. That's what I believe. Now, you tell me if I'm wrong or not. September 7th, Tupac was shot. He died 6 days later. 6 is an occult number. There were 13 shots allegedly fired into the vehicle. 13 is an occult number. Okay? He allegedly died on the 13th. So he shot on the 7th, right? 6 days later, occult number, on the 6th, he dies. 13 shots are fired into the vehicle. Okay, Biggie. Let's talk about Biggie. Let's talk about Biggie, man. Like Pac's murder, Biggie's has been clouded with conspiracy theories and ultimately led many to believe that this was the end of hip-hop at the time. Hip-hop brought Pac and Big together, but it also tore them apart. Their East Coast, West Coast rivalry lives on through their legacy, arguably as much as their music does. So Biggie died on the West Coast, okay? On March 9th, he was shot. March 9th. 3 is an occult number that they use. Somebody might say, what about 9? Well, 9 is a occult number because it's flipped upside down to make 6. I'll prove it to you. Remember when Prince came out with the song, We're Gonna Party Like It's 1999? Flip that around. It's 666. What did Prince know, man, that we didn't know? Do these numbers mean anything concerning the death of Tupac and Biggie? Tupac is shot on the 7th of September, 96. 6 days later, he dies. 13 shots were fired into the car. 25 years old. Christopher Wallace, March 9th. 3 is an occult number. 9 is a code number. Flip it upside down. 3-6. Remember 3-6 Mafia? Could this have been planned by the devil? Is what I'm trying to say, man. Hip hop did this to Biggie and Pac. They had their own choices to make. But again, for the fame, for the love of money, man. Maybe they got out too late, but they desired to get out of this. No one really knows everything, man. I'm just giving you the facts. My heart goes out to these young men. They both passed away at the age of 25 years old. I remember 25, I wasn't saved. I would have stood the same chance of making the same mistakes presented with the same opportunity. So you can be careful when you judge these guys, man, because you don't know. You don't know what position you could be in, man. Remember, if you want to make it big in hip hop, you got to be willing to go through the rituals. After you've gone through enough rituals, you're initiated. Usually when you're initiated, somebody close to you dies. Something has to happen for you to be initiated. You understand what I'm saying? This is how the machine works. Pay attention to it. It's still working that way today. Go trace back. Look at hip hop. Look at the entertainment industry. Look at all the shame rituals. Look at it. After you've been initiated, if you get out of line, hip hop starts to look to your posterity, the next generation. Who can replace you? So, okay, let's compare the names. Bad Boy. Names don't matter. Numbers don't matter. Bad Boy. 1 Corinthians. Let's go back to it. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Bad boy. Bad boy on one side. Bad boys, if they stay bad long enough, they could end up on death row. So bad boys could end up on death row. These names matter, man. They prophesied. Biggie and Pac prophesied. They prophesied over themselves. Biggie's first album, Ready to Die, makes no sense. Your career just started. You're ready to die? What is the fascination with death? It's a ritual. It's a rite of passage. This is the way you have to go to sell records. Diddy knew that with Who Shot You? And I believe that track was recorded before Pac was shot. But guess what? It sells records, man. Diddy did that. I believe. That's me. What do you think? Ready to Die was Biggie's first album. He only had 2 albums, Ready to Die and Life After Death. It's all around death. Tupac. Tupacalypse Now? That sounds blasphemy. Do you know what the apocalypse is? Do you know what apocalypse means? The God is Cali, destruction, apocalypse, the end. His last album, All Eyes on Me, he knew that he was being watched. Tupac knew he was being watched. All eyes on me. He knew. What did Satan say? I'll be like the Most High. Everyone will worship me. It was pride. It was blasphemous, man. Maybe they didn't understand what they were doing. Machiavelli. Do you know what Machiavelli did? He faked his death, came back and killed all of his enemies. That album was released posthumous, and that was the first time I heard Illuminati. He was dropping names. It's almost like he knew his time was short. He didn't care anymore. Bad Boy, death row. Bad Boy, death row. This isn't good. So who is the posterity? Who are the disciples of Biggie Smalls? Let's see, Jay-Z. On one hand, Biggie, he claimed that Pac was his man. No problem, but I believe under pressure. When he got on wax and began to spit and began to rap, he did a song with Jay-Z called Brooklyn's Finest. He went in on Tupac. But in the interview, he said that he wanted the beef to simmer down. He wanted to be over with. But I'm not blaming him. It's the pressure, man. It's the industry. It's the industry. Tupac hit him up. I mean, I don't even want to repeat the lyrics, man. It was horrible. This is good for hip hop. This is good for record sales. And again, when you step out of line, hip hop starts to look at your posterity. So who is it on the East Coast? Think about it. Jay-Z was pretty much irrelevant. He came out with Reasonable Doubt not too long before Biggie died. Before Pac died. Jay-Z came out with Reasonable Doubt not too long before Tupac died. Jay-Z wasn't that relevant until after Biggie died. Actually, Jay-Z wasn't that relevant until after Tupac died. And then Biggie died. Then Jay-Z takes the forefront. He wasn't relevant when these two guys were alive. Snoop Dogg had somewhat of a relevance on the West Coast. He was connected to Tupac. His career took off when Tupac died. And in some ways, I believe Snoop Dogg sold out in order to stay relevant. Even, why do you think he's still making commercials now? It's the machine. I'm not dogging him. It's the machine. Blood in, blood out. I'm just saying it's something to think about, man. It's something to think about. And I just want to end with that, man. Just let you guys know. I mean, hip hop did something to Biggie and Pop that only hip hop could do. It made them a star. It gave them a sense of purpose. And it caused them to be worshiped, man. This is what Satan wants you to do. Hip hop hasn't changed, man. He's still a stepfather. God is the father. Hip hop is a stepfather. He's a wicked stepfather. And I'm urging you, man, if you're in my generation, you still listen to this stuff, man, get away from it. It produces nothing good, man. I'm not judging Biggie and Pop, but it produces nothing good. One more thing. So Biggie, you may understand how I tied Tupac into the thug life. By his own admission, he said he's a thug. I talked about the Indian god, the goddess Kali, and how the Thuggies worship Kali, which is the god of destruction. You probably can kind of get that with Tupac. But you might say, well, Biggie wasn't quite a thug. Yes, he was. Biggie embraced the thug persona himself. By the time his first album came out, Ready to Die. I told you his first single, Party, and you know what? It was on a different tip, but this is different. He did switch up, in my opinion. But he did it because it sells records. Who Shot You sold records, whether it was recorded before, Tupac was shot, or after. It sells records. Hit 'Em Up sold records, man. The machine wants to live. It needs to be fed. These men have been gone nearly 30 years, and the machine still moves on. And it's not just hip hop. It's in the gospel music industry too. I could say a few things about gospel artists, man, but I won't right now. Maybe I'll do another podcast on it, but it's just as bad in the gospel music industry. That's why I don't embrace CHH at all. I don't listen to a lot of music, period, anyway. I'm very selective about what I listen to now. I am a Christian rap artist, and I consider myself a Christian rapper, and I have Christian content in my music. I don't embrace CHH at all. Love it or not, I just don't. I don't agree with the two words, they're opposed to each other. But Biggie, you remember what he did? Life After Death album. You remember what he did? He did a song called Going Back to Cali. Remember I talked about the kid that sticks the fork in the socket? Just because they don't understand what they're doing doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. He said, I'm going back to Cali. It was a nod at the West Coast saying, look, West Coast, let's squash the beef. He said this out of his own mouth. Going back to Cali was a nod to the West Coast to squash the beef. He was embracing the West Coast, trying to bring peace. But if you look at it in the spiritual realm, everything about Cali that he rapped about was about thuggery. Women, drugs, sex, explicit content. So when he said he's going back to Cali, was he going back to Cali, C-A-L-I? Or the goddess Cali in the spirit realm, even though he may not have meant it that way? Tupac is gone, and now I'm going back to Cali. Y'all think about that, man. Drop me a comment, tell me what y'all think about this podcast, man, because did hip-hop do something to Biggie and Pop, or did they act independently? Tell me what you think, because I believe hip-hop destroyed these two young men's lives. It's their fault, but hip-hop did it, and it's still doing it today. So, if you love the Lord, man, stick with him. We're all in the fight in these last days, each and every one of us, to stay the course. And I'm doing this for artists. If you aspire to be a secular artist, this podcast is for you. If you're a Christian artist, it's for you. You gotta be careful what we listen to and what we watch, man. And if you're in my generation, again, you understand everything I'm talking about. And if you're not in my generation, you understand everything I'm talking about. It's going on now. But going back in time 30 years helps you to get a broader picture and see what's really going on. Hip-hop is part of the machine. And I hate what hip-hop did to Biggie and Pop. They had a responsibility in it, but hip-hop was the machine, man, that did it. So y'all think about that. Love y'all guys, and until next time, keep looking up to the Chief Shepherd.